Hello there, yeah, hope you're doing well wherever you are. Today I'm going to be doing the I tag, which was created by Jim over at Books, Reading and Stuff, and I was very kindly tagged in this by Matthew over at Bottle Limp Books. I'm here in my sister's conservatory. I guess some people call them, is it solariums, is that right? Let me know if there's a difference between a conservatory and a solarium. And yeah, I'm in here with Monty the Cat. Yeah, my sister's little black cat. I'll show you a little video of him here. Me and Monty are here in the conservatory. Going to do the I tag. Now, you may have noticed that I have done the A tag, but I haven't done any of the tags between A and I. And that is because I was just tagged in I and I thought I'd do it. And then I thought I would, after this, in a non-linear kind of way, maybe do B and then H and then C and so on, and like meet in the middle, and then carry on with the rest of the alphabet, just to be awkward. So let's see how it goes. Let's jump right into it. So the first question is I is for immunity and inoculation. Have you been vaccinated? Yes, I have. I've got my little card thing here that proves it, I suppose. Yeah, I've had both shots of the Pfizer vaccine, and I'm doing okay. I'm fine. I was a bit tired, but yeah, I just drowsy. But after that, that's fine. The second question is I is for Iago. Who is the most sinister villain in your reading and why? Ooh, you see Monty just. And I was not sure. I was chatting with when my sister woke up this morning, trying to see. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're like trying to work out between us maybe who the most sinister villain was, and I find it really hard because it's something that's really parodied, like almost cartoonish sometimes, with villains and that evil laugh and stuff. And yeah, I haven't read Othello, so I couldn't say Iago. And I was trying to think, and between us we agreed on in the novel Rebecca. And we're thinking of the antagonists in that. So you have Rebecca herself, and then you have Mrs. Danvers, the housekeeper, who perhaps is the more active antagonist in that novel. And I love the way Mrs. Danvers is portrayed in Alfred Hitchcock's black and white movie. I think it's so creepy, and it's parodied really greatly by David Mitchell. I think is it the Mitchell and Webb sort of sketch show? There's a great sketch, like a kind of Rebecca parody. I'll try and link that down below because that's really funny. But no, and the discussion about Mrs. Danvers, we were like maybe thinking about class dynamics, and something that's always interested me, and it comes up a lot for me as I'm reading, fiction sets anywhere from like the 1600s through to the early 20th century. When you think of the serving class and where they fit in the class dynamics, because at least to my mind, in some ways, they are still, kind of working class in a way. They're still doing, many of them are doing menial labour, but then, it kind of rubs off, and they maybe have some of the maybe snobby, kind of snobbishness maybe. My sister was talking about the housekeeper in North and South. When they move up north and they try to get help from the locals, and she's quite snobby about the locals. She thinks they're so rough, in comparison. Yeah, it's quite just interesting to see. And we're thinking that maybe, and I'm thinking more particularly of the 19th century here, and even our own times now, that, with the working class, they're perhaps more, there's this idea of wage slavery and stuff like that, whereas for the helping class, or the serving class, or however you want to put it, Perhaps it's less wage slavery and more a symbiosis. It's a symbiotic relationship between the servants and the masters, mistresses, the aristocratic family, or whoever they are, even middle class families in many cases. You know, and they're kind of dependent on one another in a way, and it's a very different, very strange relationship, I think. And I think that Rebecca is a book that really plays on that relationship in a very twisted and dark way. That's very fascinating. So yeah, there are some of my thoughts. That's a bit of a random ramble on class structures when it concerns the serving class. And yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. I mean, it's not like my it's not my job to think about that stuff. But yeah, if you have any thoughts, let me know. If not, it'd be interesting. Let's try and move on with less rambles. So Eyes for Italy was the last book that you read by an Italian author. And the last book I read, I believe, by an Italian author, it was fairly recently, about a month ago, was Italo Calvino's Cosmicomics, a collection of shorts. They're not really science fiction stories, but they're inspired by science, and they're kind of surreal and cartoonish, very fun and quirky but confusing. I tried to do a review of it, and I'll link that down below too. But it's yeah, it's a very funny book, but there's a lot going on. I'll leave it there. Then Eyes for Ireland. Who is your favourite Irish author? And as Jim's video and many other people who've done this tag suggest, that there are so many great Irish authors, and I mean, I was thinking of Yeats, and I was thinking of Oscar Wilde, and I suppose they're more of are they Anglo-Irish, I believe, or at least from that, is it the Protestant ascendancy or whatever, I'm not sure about Wilde, I can't remember, but maybe the same for Bram Stoker, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know. But I think for me, my favourite Irish writers would be, well, two contenders. One would be Paul Muldoon. I actually have a book to show you here. This is his book, Madoc, a Mystery, which is about sort of asking what would have happened if Coleridge and Robert Southey would have actually gone over to America to found their Pandocracy. It's yeah, very weird. So Paul Muldoon, very strange, baffling Irish poet that I find really entertaining, and also a poet that sort of tutored me when I was at university, an Irish poet called Alva D'Arcy, and her poetry is really good too. But number one, I can't really get away from it, is Seamus Heaney. I just adore his poems, and yeah, is it Steve Donahue who refers to him as Shay? But yeah, I think Seamus Heaney gets the top spot for me. His the first volume in his selected poems, his new selected poems, is my Desert Island book. So yeah, Seamus Heaney. Then number 5, I is for ink. Do you have a tattoo? What do you think of tattoos? And so on. Nope, I don't have a tattoo. I do have this random mark on my arm. I don't think it'll show up on the camera, but it's just there, just by my wrist. There's little blue dots, and when I was a teenager I was quite concerned about this dot. I thought that it was some kind of gangrene or skin disease, and I was quite worried about it, but then, you know, it must be more than 10 years since it first showed up. It's still the same size, hasn't moved, hasn't grown, my hand hasn't fallen off or anything, so the only thing I can think it is someone in a kind of playful, jokey manner, as you do it in schools, or at least the kind of school I went to. Someone must have stabbed me with a blue pen, and it's just stayed. That's all I can think of, because yeah, nothing bad has happened. So I think it's a little involuntary tattoo, but really, my thoughts on tattoos, don't don't particularly mind them. They're not something I would particularly want. I don't know. I suppose many of the people I know who have tattoos, you know, I know a lot of older people who have tattoos, and they don't look very good anymore. But it, you know, it depends on the person and how thoughtful they are, I guess, about their tattoos. Some people look really cool with them, so I don't know. I'm rather ambivalent, and yeah, I don't really mind. Let's move on, shall we? Let's find the next prompt. Prompt 6 is I is for inspiration. What book inspired you to do something? And you know, this isn't really an AuthorTube channel, but I do write poetry, and I was thinking of a book that really not only inspired me to do something, but influenced me. Another I is for influence, and I was thinking of Dart by Alice Oswald, and when I read that, it was like a switch, and I didn't really realise that poetry could work the way that she was using it. The way that the poetry, you know, it does flow and change, and you know, change pace and depth as a river does, because it's evoking the life of the River Dart in Devon. And you know, from the blurb, to be honest, it sounded a bit boring, but it was really fascinating, and the way she was writing it, just the life in it, the lives dependent on it, the lives lost to it. It was really wonderful, and the way that formally she works that out. At some point it seems more like prose, but at other points it's very clearly, you know, sort of normal verse poetry. Sometimes there's a hint of rhyme in there. You know, it just kind of flows and meanders like that, and it kind of pushed me to be a bit braver with my poetry. So that's yeah, the best I could do for number 6. Number 7 is I is for Istanbul. What cities or city would you like to see before you die? There are many cities I'd like to see before I die. The first one I'd like to see would be Rome. I'd love to go to Rome, and I'd love to visit the Protestant cemetery in Rome, mainly because that's where Keats is buried, and I believe that's where Shelley's remains have been buried too, after he was cremated. So I'd love to see if I could find Keats and Shelley over in the Protestant cemetery. I'd of course love to go cemetery hunting in Paris too. I forget the names of the two big famous cemeteries that everyone talks about, but I'd love to go exploring there and explore the catacombs in Paris. But other cities I'd love to see, I'd love to see Portland, Oregon. As I've said in past videos, I think I have a bit of a long distance love affair with Portland, Oregon. I love loads of bands from Portland or from that area, like the Sleater-Kinney, the Decemberists, the Dandy Warhols, and yeah, there's lots of cool stuff coming out of there. There's the TV show Portlandia, stuff like that. But yeah, there are a few places I'd like to visit. Then the final prompt is I is for many book titles. What is the last book you read beginning with I? And it's actually the very last book I read, which is very convenient. I didn't plan this, but it was The Invention of Morale by Adolfo Bioy Casares, an Argentinian writer, and I might try and review this at some point, because it's really good. And maybe I is for intrigue, because it's a very intriguing, mysterious, well-plotted book. Some people think it's kind of slow at the beginning, but to be honest, it had me hooked with these sort of descriptions of this desert island that our protagonist finds himself on. And it's yeah, a strange sci-fi story with an island populated with people who can't really seem to see or hear our protagonist, and he's at points wondering if he's dead, whether he's a ghost, whether they're ghosts, and things like that. And it's really fascinating. So that's The Invention of Morale by Casares. Cyrus, by the way, was one of the many people, I think, who read Borges when he was blind, and there's a little prologue by Borges at the beginning of this book. There we go, the eye tag. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed the glimpses of Monty you got. He's now asleep. Little thing there. And I think that's the end. So thank you again, Matthew at Bottling Books, for tagging me. I believe I said that at the beginning. If I didn't, thank you again. And thanks for watching. In his original video, Jim tagged anyone who uses the pronoun I. I will carry that on to you. If you describe yourself as I do, then yeah, feel free to do it. That's all for now. I hope you're doing good. See you soon. Bye.